you just listen to the wording. Leil Seder means the night of Seder. What is Seder? Order, right? Organized, order. There's something about Pesach much more so than any other Chag, which is very, very misudar. It's very orderly. Okay? We know that the Seder has parts, and often what families do is they sing the parts of the Seder before they even start. In other words, we're going to say what we're going to do throughout the Seder. It's divided into parts, and each one has a name and a meaning. And you sort of go through it, and from the very beginning, everyone at the table knows what they're going to go through. Okay? What? Like a what? Right, it's sort of like that, but there's also a song to it that you could have, you could put out there. So if you guys open up, it should be in the very, this is, here you go. On page 3 in this one, this little one. Whoever doesn't have in page 3, on the little ones, it will be in the beginning of everywhere else. I'm just going to read it, then I'm going to go back for a second also. Another thing, we're only dealing with Leil HaSeder here. We're only dealing with the night of Pesach. We could deal with chametz and doing kelim. No. It's too much, way too much. We're really only doing Leil HaSeder itself. We're not even talking about the davening before Leil HaSeder. We're saying when you come after you went to shul for Marev, you davened, nighttime prayer, and you came home. You come home. Okay? So take a look. If you guys look at page, what did I say? I said 6 is 3. 3. Good, right. So page 3, we have the list. Kaddish, Urchatz, Karpas, Yachatz. You can go with me. Again, it's interesting. 4 is save. It's a fascinating Magid, Rachatza, we usually call it. Motzi Matzah, Maror, Korech, Shulchan Orech, Tzafun, Barech, Halel, Nirtza. Okay, well, then they also shove these all together. And you could divide them up in different ways. Halel and Nirtza aren't necessarily together. Motzi Matzah sometimes is considered one thing. It doesn't really matter at the moment. But this is the order that we're going to go through things. So each one, I'm going to give a word, what happens on each one, and then as we learn, we'll go into each one, okay? So the evening starts, first of all, it starts in the evening, okay? The Leil Pesach is really supposed to begin after the stars come out. We're not supposed to do it earlier. Sometimes you do an early Shabbos, an early Chag, not on Pesach. On Pesach, we want the mitzvah of eating the matzah has to be at the night, okay? So we are going to start the mitzvah of Sipur Yetziat Mitzrayim.
Should I bring wine?
No, it's okay. We're good. Sipur Yetziat Mitzrayim has to be from the nighttime. So you just have to wait for the night. That's where it's going to start. All right. And another important thing, which is before I say this, you're supposed to get to Pesach when you're hungry. You're supposed to
eat 2.5 hours before Pesach.
Not 2.5 hours before. From the middle of the day of Pesach, you're really not supposed to be eating. That's Mincha, when you're in the Mincha Gdola, Mincha Ktana. On Pesach, you're supposed to come hungry to the Seder.
Also, isn't
okay?
it like a death? Are you like chayav mavis if you eat matzah right before Pesach?
Mamash no.
Because I've been told you're not allowed to eat matzah before Pesach.
That's a minhag. It's so that you will eat the matzah hungrily. In other words, you're not supposed to eat matzah the day before, so that when you get to eating the matzah, you love it so much. I must say that us Ashkenazim, to love eating matzah, you have to have a real chibuv mitzvah. You have to really love mitzvot. The Sfardim, if you ever saw what they have like a lafa. They have a pita. That I can understand, really, eating pizza, eating it l'teavon, not pizza. But not only that, this, sometimes we make it even harder to eat than this, which is the handmade matzahs. But we'll talk about that when we get to the matzah. Okay, right, the more cardboard than this. Whatever it is, we're supposed to come into the Seder hungry, wanting to eat matzah. Wanting to eat the matzah should be something we're waiting for, both spiritually and also physically. We really want to eat. We're hungry. It's part of the Seder that you're supposed to get into. Okay, let me quickly go through this, the shlavim as we saw here. Kiddush, just like we do on every holiday and we do on every Shabbat. It starts with Kiddush and has a cup of wine. Okay, that is the first of the 4 cups of wine we're going to drink on Pesach. The first one is with Kiddush, Kadesh. Urchatz, we get up and we wash our hands. We wash our hands without a bracha. Karpas, we take a vegetable.
But with the hand washing before this.
Okay, it's bli bracha. We'll talk about it when we get there. Okay, we take a vegetable. We dip it in usually what we have salt water. You dip it in salt water and eat it. Okay, say a bracha, borei pri adama, and you eat it. When you say borei pri adama on this, you're also thinking about the maror that's going to come later. Okay, and you say a bracha on it. Okay. Then we get yachatz, which as we'll go on, we'll do it. We'll take the middle matzah. We have 3 matzahs here. Usually we have how much bread and when we start in Shabbat? They're usually 2 pieces, right? Two loaves of bread, of challah. Today we have 3, because there are actually 2 mitzvahs that are happening here. What? Only the middle one. We're going to take and we break the middle one to 2 parts.
I have a question. If we have a Shabbat now, we skip 2 breads and we do just this?
No. It's an extra. It's an extra. We have, in the sense, we have
now
2.
We will have a Pesach on the Shabbat evening.
No, it's true. Right, but it stays the same way, because we'll keep 2 as what we're doing for the Shabbat or for the Chag, and the middle one that we break, that's the mitzvah of matzah. Okay, we'll explain why in a minute. Okay, that's what we'll do. But that's what we do. It said yachat, the 4th shlav here. Then we're going to break it in half. Half we're going to leave here, and half we're going to put aside as the afikoman. We'll explain that hopefully also when we get there. Now, the bigger half goes to the afikoman. Okay, the bigger half goes to the afikoman. The smaller half goes. Okay. Then we're going to pour another cup of wine, our second cup of wine, and the second cup of wine is going to be with us throughout what we'd call the major part of the Seder, which is Magid. Magid is to tell. That's really what narrate, it says, to tell. And that is when we reach Be'etzem, the first mitzvah me'atorah, the first mitzvah really of Leil Seder. I'll go back again for a second. There are 4 mitzvot that we're doing. 2 deoraita, 2 from the Torah, okay, and 2 midrabanan. Yeah, well, it's fine. I'll say, and then you'll say what you're thinking. So the 2 mitzvot that we do me'atorah nowadays, right? The first one is Sipur Yetziat Mitzrayim, the telling of the story of Yetziat Mitzrayim. Now it's interesting. Every day we mention Yetziat Mitzrayim in Kriyat Shema. When we say Shema, we say Yetziat Mitzrayim. But this is a unique mitzvah. This is a different mitzvah. This is a mitzvah that is to tell the story. There's one night a year that you really have to tell the story. You're supposed to tell it to your children. That's the mess. But as the Mishnah says, and if you don't have children, then you tell yourself. If you're there by yourself, you tell your friends, you tell others, you tell your wife, the story has to be told, and it has to be told as a story. Okay, it's very important. This is the mitzvah. It's really a mitzvah, just like all the other mitzvahs we have. It's a mitzvah to tell a story, and that's what we're doing basically in Magid. That's what happens there. Okay? There's another mitzvah from the Torah, and that's eating matzah. That's the other mitzvah, midoraita, it's called, from the Torah. Now there are other mitzvot, midrabanan.
Like maror.
One of them is maror in our time.
Because it used to be, and then it stopped.
Well, it used to be only when there's a Korban Pesach.
And then the Korban
Right.
Pesach also we have nothing.
And that, of course, is also, because in the time of the Mikdash, when we would bring a Korban Pesach, maybe this year, maybe next year. There's Rat Hashem. We're close, guys. We're close. We're closer than we've ever been for a really long time to be bringing Korban Pesach. Then, of course, there's the mitzvah of eating Pesach, the Pesach itself, and then Maror also becomes from the Torah, okay? Because the mitzvah is eating the Pesach, Matzah, and Maror together. That is only when we have a Korban Pesach. Now, when we do Maror, it's considered the Rabbanan, okay? It's considered rabbinic. The other is the 4 cups of wine, which are also rabbinic, okay? And there's also another element, which is this part. What am I doing? The leaning, haseva. Now we're going to see that throughout the Seder, there are points where you really have to do it. You have to. In other words, it's good to be like this the whole time, but there are times that you really have to, and if you don't do it, by most commentaries and most poskim, you have to do whatever you did again. If you ate matzah, like you were saying, if you ate matzah not leaning, you have to do it again. You have to do it leaning, okay?
Can lean to the right to the left.
No, great. We're going to talk about it's only to the left.
Only to the left.
Unless
I
you...
remember we read in the halach, Pnimi halachah, I can do to the right in my right hand, left.
Lefty. Is anyone here a lefty? You. Only you are a lefty. So
The halacha is to lean
you don't know if you're a lefty or a righty?
Rabbi Weinstein.
You could write with both hands?
I do everything right-handed except for writing and eating.
So Rabbi Weinstein.
So you have a problem. No, I'm kidding. Okay, it's fine. No.
What hand?
No. It's interesting. It's interesting what you're
I
saying.
wrap the feeling on my left arm.
On your left arm, as a righty. Okay, but it's an interesting question. If you write with one hand, yeah,
So you're supposed to lean to your left.
to your left.
Alright, so I've been told that people who are righties are supposed to lean to the left, but if they were to lean to the right, then that means they would have something that means they would not be like everyone else. Like if someone were to lean to the right and they're a righty, they do not fulfill the mitzvah, but for a lefty, they do.
Great.
They're supposed to lean to the left.
Exactly
but
correct. Exactly what Ezra says.
says.
What Ezra said is exactly right. Lefties leaning to the right, they're yotzei. Righties leaning to the right are not yotzei. They're not. For sure. The reason we lean to our left is not to choke. Exactly. It's sakana. If you lean this way, right. So everyone should, but righties aren't. The other reason why we lean to our left is the practical one. Those of you who are lefties, lean to your left and try to eat with your left hand. Go ahead. Let's see you. Righties, lean on your right and try to eat with your right hand. It's very difficult. So you lean to your left because obviously at that point most people were righties. Lefties were not considered Jews, not human beings. They weren't considered human beings. Sorry, Hirsch. But so almost everyone was a righty. So that's what they had. I mean, or they made them into righties, as we know. I mean, my grandfather apparently was made into a righty when he was younger.
They beat you like they think you're evil with the devil, and it beats you with the ruler. With the left hand.
I don't know what they did, but they somehow made him into a righty. Anyway, so let's go on. So again, we saw the basic mitzvot again. Sipur Yetziat Mitzrayim, Matzah Deoraita, the Rabbanan, 4 cups, and the Maror, and the leaning, and the Aseba. Okay, and we sort of went into the Aseba here because we were pulled into it. A little more, we'll talk about it as we go. Tov. After we do Magid, now Magid is a long time. We're going to see it inside. It's a large portion. It is almost the whole thing of the Haggadah. Okay, Magid is like half of the Haggadah.
Magid is basically the whole entire Seder.
Right, I want to talk about that also. But Magid is the story. It's the story of Yetziat Mitzrayim and talks about different points. In Magid, there are ebbs and flows. Things change in Magid. In other words, there are times when we're suddenly going to sing. There are times when we're going to lift the matzah and show the people at the Seder the matzah. We're going to lift the maror. And Beikar, the essence of Magid, though, Rav Gamliel, towards the end of what we call Magid, Rav Gamliel says, he who didn't say these 3 things wasn't Yotze Yedei Chova, Matzah, Maror, Pesach. Pesach, Matzah, Maror. What are these 3 things? This is like the basis of the Chag of Pesach. Pesach, Matzah, Maror. We'll talk about when we get to Magid. And then at the end of Magid, we drink the 2nd cup. Okay? And so this is the order again. Kiddush, washing hands, eating the vegetable, the green vegetable, breaking the matzah, starting Magid. Then we go towards the meal. Okay, but the meal begins with the 2nd mitzvah we talked about. What's the 2nd mitzvah we talked about? Somei Torah. We told the story already. Now it's matzah. Okay, so now we go wash our hands with a bracha, like we do on every bread we eat. And then we're going to, be'etzem, we're going to eat the mitzvah of the day, which is matzah. But we're also going to start our meal, because it's still a Yom Tov. It's still a holiday. And the holiday has the regular challah we eat, in this case matzah, and also this unique matzah, which we're doing the mitzvah on. We'll talk about the matzah and which matzah we eat as we get there. Yeah.
The 4 mitzvot you were talking about?
2 Doraita, 2 from the Torah and 2 rabbinic. The Doraita from the Torah is telling the story and eating matzah. The rabbinic is maror and the 4 cups, and I threw in also the leaning. With the leaning, I'm just leaving it on the side because there is one opinion that says in this day and age we don't have to lean at all. The Rav, one opinion who says this. The reason he says it is because the way people used to eat, the rich people would be lying on beds, right? The Romans, the picture, right? And we talked about the picture of the Romans with the thing. So we don't eat that way. The Rav says that's not freedom. That's hard to do. It's hard to eat like that. It's not even something it's good for us. We don't like it. It's not good. So he says you don't have to. That's really what he says. But it's not accepted. Her opinion is not really accepted.
Eating matzah, eating maror, leaning while drinking wine or grape juice.
Oh, the 4 cups. Are their own and leaning in different points in that. So now right before we go to the main meal, there are a couple things that happen now. So we talked about the matzah. We're gonna have to eat the matzah. We have to eat it to a certain amount, within a certain time. And we'll talk about that as we go on. And then we go on to the maror. Okay, the maror, the bitter herbs. Okay, that in the time of Beit HaMikdash, it would sort of be like a shawarma. Has anyone ever ate a shawarma?
Yeah.
Right? You would have, that's how they sort of ate the korban. What? Right, exactly. It's very hard to make a shawarma with this. You know what shawarma is?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good. Everyone here knows shawarma? You've been in Israel long enough. Good. Okay, so korban Pesach was sort of like a shawarma. They would have a matzah, which was a pita. It wasn't this. It was a pita. And they had maror that was put in, which is... What's maror? Schug, right? Yeah, when you go to a thing, they put on like a harif kind of thing, put in meat in the middle, and enjoy. That's how you would eat the korban Pesach, in that sense. That's sort of what it was. That's what we're going to do in korech when we put that together. But right now, because we don't have the korban Pesach, so we eat each one separately, and then we eat it together. That's what we do. Now, we have first motzi matzah. That's the matzah. Then we do the maror. And then we do korech, which is to bring them all together and eat them. And we say this is like what Hillel used to do at Beit HaMikdash. What? Unfortunately, it's missing. You're right. There's no meat. We're hoping. Be'ezrat Hashem. How many? 2 weeks? 3 weeks?
And if someone put the meat there, it's wrong? Or?
Yes, it's wrong. It's very wrong. No meat goes in there. Okay. What?
Not even chicken.
Nothing
Okay, what?
at all.
It's like a fake. It's not
That we'll talk about what that's doing there on the Seder plate in a minute.
It's there to get you to ask questions.
There we go. Then we have Shulchan Orech, and then we eat. And it's supposed to be a very mechubad. It's supposed to be a nice meal. Then we get to Tzafun, which is when we eat the afikomen. Now, eating the afikomen is this fascinating event, and it tells us really what the point of the Seder was. In other words, we're supposed to eat. It says you're supposed to eat korban Pesach al hasova. Once you're already satiated, when you're not hungry anymore, you don't eat the Pesach like you're super hungry. No. The Pesach is supposed to be chirut. Chirut. Someone who's really hungry isn't a free man, right? Free men aren't hungry all the time. I guess in Machon Meir, you guys are free men or not free men? Not free. Hungry all the time. Depends what they had for the meal. But you're supposed to arrive at Pesach hungry, eat a meal, and then eat the korban Pesach towards the end when you're already okay. And that's what the afikomen is. The afikomen is instead of the korban Pesach. We don't have a korban Pesach, so we eat matzah instead. Great tachlif, huh? It's great. So that's why we have to build Beit HaMikdash, people. If we want to stop eating all this matzah and eating yummy meat instead, that's why we need Beit HaMikdash. Anyway, so that's what we do. After we eat that, we're not supposed to eat anything for the rest of the meal, for the rest of the night. Okay, you're supposed to eat it. And you're supposed to eat this before midnight. Okay, they're supposed to get there at midnight. Now it sounds like, of course, you'll get to there by midnight, but no, not so fast. In other words, think about now, we just changed the clocks, right? So we're going to be davening at 7. We finish davening 8 plus, because there's Hallel at night. So we finish at 8 plus. We get home, Kabbalat Shabbat now also, right? This specifically this. You're going to get home 9:30. Okay?
The real solution is to change the clocks after Pesach.
It would be a possible solution. But when you come in suddenly you're going to start eating at 9:30, almost 10. And then to get to there by midnight with all of the Magid and all the Seder and everyone talking, and we'll talk about the questions that happen.
Israel
it's not so easy.
At night because in America they don't do
Yes,
that.
they do. I imagine they will do. There may be some places that don't, but most, it's pretty acceptable that they'll say Hallel at night. Then we get to Barech, which is Birkat HaMazon, and that's our third cup. That's where the third cup comes in. Okay, we're going to say it.
Then Hallel.
And then we'll get to Hallel, and we'll pour the fourth cup. Hallel, we'll be saying actually the second half of Hallel, because the first half we said in the middle of Magid. And then
we also say some things from davening too, not just stuff from Hallel.
we say lots of things, and
We also say Nishma.
that's at the end. That's at Nirtzah. There is a little bit of Nishmat at the end, at the very end of Magid. Correct. Nachon. But then we're going to finish up Hallel, and there we'll have our last cup, and Nirtzah are the continuations, the songs, and praising Hashem that we have at the end. Okay, that's the Seder quickly. All right, that's what we're going to go through. We go through all these phases. Some of them take a second, as we saw, washing your hands doesn't take that long, even though often, I imagine everyone here is going to be at a different Seder, but sometimes Seders are quite large. And for everyone to get up and wash their hands and come back, we're talking like 10 minutes. Everyone's, dressed in their finest, and the tables you have to go around the table. I know it depends by the size of the Seder. Sometimes every little thing here can take quite a long time. So this is how we start. And in front of the Seder, in the Seder plate, we're going to put all the elements of really what the night is about. We put it out here for everyone to see. Okay? And this is another really, really important part of the Seder, that the Sipur Yetziat Mitzrayim, which we said is the mitzvah deoraita, right, besides eating matzah. Sipur Yetziat Mitzrayim is made and done as a question-answer. That's the heart of the Seder. It is, one second, the story is supposed to be told in a question-answer kind of thing. Why this? Why this? What are we doing here? That's why the Magid sort of begins with the famous Manishtana, right? Where we ask 4 questions. Manishtana, why is this night different than all others? It starts as a question. I'm going to go back in a second, but yeah.
The Indian with the nuts, giving out nuts. When is the proper time to do it? Giving out what?
Throughout the night.
Not before the Seder?
Not necessarily. It's throughout the night. Okay.
And just so they could say, why are you giving me?
I'm going to get there in a second. I'm going to get there. You're right. But yes, pretty much yes. Okay? There are going to be a bunch of things that we do throughout the Seder, which is just to make people ask questions. The questions are essential in the Seder. It's very interesting. Even someone sitting by himself will ask himself a question. Why is this night? Why do you say the Manishtana? What's different this night than all other nights? But even in the Torah, when it talks about the mitzvah of Sipur Yetziat Mitzrayim, it always comes as a question-answer. Your son will come to you and ask you. Vayaki shalcha bincha lemor. Your son will come and in the Torah itself, in the text, right after they leave Mitzrayim, right there, it's brought as a question and answer. And it's really, I think, a really important part of Judaism, that Judaism likes questions. Really likes questions. They're not opposed to questions. They don't say, be quiet, just do whatever I say. No. Not only do we like questions, we encourage them. Because you realize that when someone asks a question, it means he's invested. That's what you're really trying to do. And that's why, like you said about the nuts and other things that we do, we're trying to make the people at the Seder, b'miuchad children, be curious about what's going on here. What's going on here? Why are we doing this? A lot of the strange things we do, really, in a sense, they fit into the way a meal used to the regular order of a meal, and they break up that order so that the kids will say, "What's going on here? Why are we doing this? Why are you bringing this first? And why are you moving this away? And what are you doing? Why are you doing things? In the Gemara, when it talks about the things to do that you have to do to change things, they're doing the order of their Seder. Nowadays, in our day and age, when we don't really have the same order of a Seder, parents have to be more creative. Parents really have to be more creative. People who are running the Seder, people who are moving the Seder, are really supposed to get the children invested. I make pictures, pictures that they have to guess what they mean. We ask questions with candies, chocolate chips. Egozim wouldn't go as well here. Nuts aren't such a hot commodity in my family. But candies and chocolate chips are. Whoever asks a good question gets a chocolate chip. These are our minhagim that we do. Okay? But it's not necessary. But you have to be creative. In other words, the father or the person who's running the Seder has to see himself as a strong obligation to have everyone involved. It's really important. And that's why some Sdarim, mistakenly in halacha, I'll be careful with what I say because a lot of people do this, draw it out way, way too long. And they'll go into in-depth discussions of Torah and mitzvot, which are super important. But the children disappear. The Seder is for the children, more so than for the grown-ups. We expect the grown-ups, where are they supposed to really go into the story? After the Afikomen. That's when you're supposed to really start talking. Then the grown-up should sit, the kids will go to sleep, they drank their 4 cups of wine, they should have been asleep a long time ago, and we should now be talking about the Seder, the halachot, the story, the midrashim, the ideas. To do it all in Magid and have the kids lose it in the middle, drop out, maybe not make it to the matzah, maybe not make it to the maror, is not what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to have them involved, keep them on their toes, happy, excited, thinking what's going on. The Leila Seder is the epitome of chinuch, of education in the Jewish world. It is the holiday of education. And what are we educating of? And this is another part. Again, before we go into it, I told you guys it would take two. That we're educating some basic concepts of Judaism. You guys know that there are 2 mitzvot aseh, 2 positive commandments. Only 2. That if you don't do them, you are chayav karet, what it's called. I don't know how you would say.
It's exorcism.
Exorcism.
Like your soul.
Your soul is exorcised.
Okay.
Exorcised? Well, exorcised? Excised, not exercised. Excised. There are only 2. One is Brit Milah, and one is Korban Pesach.
Yeah.
If you don't do a Pesach, it is the most important of the mitzvot of the positive commandments.
Now what is it? Does that translate to anything now?
Unfortunately, no.
Right.
Unfortunately, no.
I thought if you eat chametz, you're
That's in lo taseh.
So
There are many negative commandments. There are a lot of negative. You guys, if you want to get exercise and negative, you could do all kinds of things. Give you a whole list afterwards if you want. But for a positive commandment, usually there's not such a there's no punishment for positive. These 2, Brit Milah and Pesach, are the basic ones.
Weinstein, are you a girl, Nick?
A what?
Do you have the Seder plate set up as the girl spot?
I have the set up as ever how it was, because there are different shitot to do it. There are like at least
There's
6 or 7 different shitot,
My,
and 3 by you. I just put this out as it was. There are different shitot of where each one of the things. We didn't even talk about what there are. Right.
Like, bra has less than the reach.
Meule. So right. So that's it's an interesting. You go into. I don't know all the differentials, but it doesn't really matter that much. But I'm going back to this idea of Pesach. Pesach is just like the covenant of the individual with Hashem is done through the Brit Milah. The covenant of a nation is on Pesach. On Pesach we recognize Hashem is our God who took us out of Egypt. I'm putting an emphasis on us. This is the Chag that Am Yisrael was chosen. Avram was chosen as an individual in the time to be a great nation. But the nation was taken out of Egypt on Pesach. There are 2 things. That's the first thing we're saying. The uniqueness of Am Yisrael being brought into from on Pesach, and the other is Hashgacha. Hashem's Hashgacha on the world. Hashem's hashgacha on Am Yisrael. Hashgacha, help me.
Control.
No.
It's like a philosophy.
Like what? Providence. Yafe.
Policy.
Providence, I think is the word that's used. The providence of Hashem on Am Yisrael throughout every generation. Hashem watches over us, will save us, as we say at different points in the Haggadah. Hashem saves us in Mitzrayim. He watches over us and will save us always. So these are like two basic elements that we want our children to internalize on the Seder. It's done through the story, because to tell a child an idea, a concept, all right, what does that mean? But to tell them a story, grown-ups too, I'll say also stories, we like stories too. But to tell a story gives a context, gives a fabric to what we're talking about. It takes an idea and makes it, you could feel it, you can understand it, you could be part of it. And that's why the Rambam, when he says, there's a machloket of an agirsa, when you say, at some point in Magid, we're going to say, every man has to see himself as if he left Egypt. It's part of the Magid. Everyone has to see himself. The Rambam reads it differently, and says, everyone has to show himself, leharot et atzmo, show himself that he left Egypt, which leads some people to say, you have to even act it out. You have to really, you have to be leaving Egypt. You yourself have to be leaving Egypt.
Is that why there's some people who usually take the matzah bag during yachats and they pretend like they're leaving?
That could be one. I mean, I'll tell you another thing. Our minhag in our family is to do a full-blown play in Magid with all the kids involved, and they work hard, and then we, in the middle of the night, we have Yetziat Mitzrayim, we run out into the night, this is like 11 o'clock at night or 10 o'clock at night, we run out in the night, everyone holding up, quickly, because we had to leave. You just try to make it as real as we can.
But we leave in the morning.
I said there, we can't do it all. They're not going to be awake in the morning. No, but in other words, to try to make it real. It's really important. And that's why everything's out. I want everyone to know what's going on. It's real. We're not just talking ideas. Here's the matzah. Here's the maror. Here's the karpas. Here's the Zecher leKorban Pesach. Very, very not serious Zecher leKorban Pesach. But everyone has a different idea. Different people have different things for the what we call the zroa. If the best way would bring a lamb chop, I don't know, it would be like the leg of a lamb. To have a lamb bone or a piece of meat, shank. That would be the best thing to have. And we have an egg, different opinions why. Some say it's avelut on Beit HaMikdash. The Cholzot, maybe that's what Rav Menachem did to this egg. Made it avelut. But the Gra says it's zecher to a...
Which Menachem?
Rav Menachem Lissman, I think, brought the egg. Which really... one of the one of the shitot is that the egg is mamash to remember the Beit HaMikdash, to remember that everything we're doing now is only part time.
Why is the egg a simon?
Because it's avelut. It's round. It's sort of, we eat also when someone dies. We also have it in the morning on Tisha B'Av, right?
But I thought it's not morning. It's the whole Indian.
Wait, that's what's one opinion. There's another opinion what the egg is for. The other opinion, not morning.
No, because
it's a chag.
No, say when at a what's it called? After the kid's born, what do you do? The
Shiva Brachot?
No.
A brit.
No. The first Shabbos after the
Shalom Zachar.
Shalom Zachar. You eat the.
Oh, you eat adashim. You eat fulim.
It's for the same Indian.
It's also the idea of the life cycle.
Good to understand that. You do that on Shabbos, so that Indian
can't be avelut. Interesting. The idea of the circular. Interesting. So it's an interesting idea. So maybe you'll go with the Gra, who says that the Beitzah is symbolizing. First of all, apparently it was a minhag. Okay, now we have to explain it. It could be an appetizer, but it also symbolizes the Korban Chagiga. Korban Chagiga, and it's as in every Chag. Right, every Chag you have to also bring, so that you'll have a lot of meat, you're supposed to bring other Korbanot. Korban Chagiga is also supposed to be brought. It's not part of the Pesach, it's just like all the other 3 regalim, 3 festivals of, I don't know, they have a name? 3 regalim. No, how do you say it in English? Is there like an English name for the
The three legs.
there is
the
Three legs.
Passover.
three pilgrimages?
Pilgrimage festival.
Right. Those three. So you bring a chagiga on each one of them. So this is sort of remembrance of the chagiga. Now wait, there's one more thing. One more.
Between Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel was the first argument in Masechet Beitza about whether or not you're allowed to eat the egg.
But not this egg. An egg that's nulad b'Shabbat.
The egg for the Seder.
No. The first argument there is Beitza shenolda b'Shabbat. That's their question. Or Erev Shabbat. Was the question, the whole thing. But one second. There's one thing missing here, and that's charoset. Okay, charoset is a mixture of apples, honey, raisins, dates, all kinds of things put together. It's really yummy. It's really tasty. What exactly is it supposed to symbolize? So some people say it's supposed to symbolize the mortar that was used to make the pyramids and make the buildings that Am Yisrael built, to remember of the teeth. That's what it says.
The ground up nuts and stuff?
Yeah, the ground up nuts and stuff. But really what we use it for is to help unbitter the bitterness of the maror. Okay, so we dip it in charoset and we shake it out and then we eat it. The charoset didn't make an appearance today, but it will make an appearance on Pesach, V'ezrat Hashem, wherever you guys are. Tov. Okay, wow. Now let's start. Okay, let's get into the halachot. Now that was all the intro. I hope we talked about all kinds of interesting things. Let's start. Seder. Let's talk about the 4 cups. Everyone, let's give a shot here. Where's my thing? This is 0.1 liters. Okay. How much do you have to drink in each cup? Okay. So the din of drinking, really anything is a revi'it. How much is a revi'it? Are we Jews or not Jews?
Slightly less than half.
Thank you. So a revi'it goes from the opinion of 86 liters, right? 86 liters, right? 86 milliliters until 150 milliliters. Now I want to give you guys an impression of how much this is. Everyone can fill up their cups. You can fill up your cups, and I want to give you guys an impression just how much this is. Yeah, it's a minhag. You're right, Ezra is right. It's a minhag that everyone pours for someone else because we're sort of free men and we don't pour ourselves. But you can pour. But you can pour yourself. Okay. This is exactly 0.1. This is exactly 0.1 liters. Okay. So now, the basic shiur is 86 milliliters, and the achi kula, will say the most lenient is 75 milliliters. Okay, how much is 75 milliliters? Well, let's take a look. This is what, right? This is 100 milliliters. What do you say?
I say that's
If it's 40,
maybe.
I would say this is not enough.
Not enough.
This is not enough. Okay? Maybe bidyuk enough. Okay? Maybe. But we're talking about a good amount of wine. All right? And everyone, just to give.
Why don't we use regular cups?
So you do at different points. I'm just trying to show how much is left here. No, this is definitely not enough. Okay? There's quite a bit. There's almost half here. I have a third of the cup here left. Right? So we're talking about a good amount. And again, for the machmirim, for the people who are super stringent, who go by the shiur, the Chazon Ish, we're talking about 1.5, 1.5 of these. Now, that's good. If it's good stuff, then one of the problems that could come out of this is people can get drunk very quickly. We're going to.
So buy nice.
I will say about myself, someone who does not touch wine ever except on Purim, I could get drunk on this much, but that's me. But that's everyone. I mean, everyone who knows themselves. Everyone knows their own abilities in this town. On Shabbos, I use grape juice. I never use wine. I always only use grape juice.
Isn't like if you have the Seder on Shabbos like this year, you're supposed to drink more than the regular amount at a Seder on like
No, not yet. It's still drinking. Okay, but again, so now we're gonna say, so let's talk about the 4 cups. All right, let's talk about Seder. Right, so there's Kiddush, right? We're going to say Kiddush. As we say Kiddush, we're also going to, it's Shabbat this year, Nachon. So we're also going to mention Shabbat. And at the end, we're also going to say,
I have a question.
what are we going to say? We're also going to say Shechianu. And the Shechianu, when we say Shechianu, we want to mean everything that's going on in this meal. There are a lot of things to say Shechianu about. We're talking about the matzah and the Sipur Yetziat Mitzrayim and the Chag, the day itself, like we say on every day. There's a lot of things to say Shechianu on. So we have to think this Shechianu is now going to. I'm saying this bracha for the whole Seder, for everything that's going to happen in the Seder. Yeah.
We need to sing Shalom Aleichem.
That's usually not. Usually not. When a Chag comes out, this is our minhag, so I'm not sure exactly. I'm sure there are different minhagim, but our minhag is that when Chag and Shabbat come together, we don't sing. Shalom Aleichem, Eshet Chayil. We go straight up. That's our minhag. It's not halacha here.
It's a good idea.
It makes everything shorter a little bit as you have to move things ahead.
What is the actual halacha?
About what we just said? Nothing. The Shulchan Aruch doesn't even say to say Shalom Aleichem. It's a minhag.
So you can if you want.
For all Sfardim don't sing these some of these things. It's not. They say some. Yes, they say. Yeah. We do. So I'm saying. So it's a minhag. So in this case, we don't. Seder. Tov. We drink. What do we have to do when we drink our wine? Lean. Thank you. You have to lean. Now think about it. You miss and you don't lean. You got to do it again. Without a bracha. Chad mashmai without a bracha. I would say, I'm sure there are like some people who like purposely don't lean. They go, oh, sorry, got to do it again. Oh, didn't do it again. Plan the wisfit. Now, what I want to say, one of the things I do, sometimes I marry people when, whatever. One of the jobs I do when I'm not here is I officiate marriages, right? I officiate marriages, and one of the things I tell the chatan and kala, I do non-religious weddings. Usually, I do also do my students when they have to, or previous students. But one of the things I tell the chatan and kala is I tell them no drinking before the chuppah. No drinking before the chuppah. And they're like, what? I say, one second. That for non-religious people, I don't tell them they don't have to eat. No, but one second. I want to say why. Because he has to mikadesh. He has to sanctify her with the ring. She has to accept it. If she's a little woozy, then we're not sure it works. So too, we're about to mikayim some mitzvot here, deoraita. If you're woozy and you're not sharp in the telling of the story of the Yetziat Mitzrayim, if you're not there, you're going to hurt the mitzvah of Yetziat Mitzrayim.
Some of the best stories have been told drunk.
No, it depends how drunk. That is exactly it. Now, obviously, you're going to be drinking 4 cups of wine. It's a nice amount of wine. Chazal,
It's 2 cups.
because it's before the meal and then after the meal.
There's more too.
It's true. But but there's wine happening here. Chazal knew they're fine with wine. It's okay. You can drink wine. You're supposed to drink wine. You have to drink wine. Again, adif adom, right? Adif red wine.
Unless you have a nicer one that's white.
Unless you really like white wine. I'll say
No, I
there's.
mean if you have
I hear what you're saying. I'm saying
wine.
dafka on Pesach, dafka red wine. It's banyan. Maybe the dam, maybe different. Dafka red wine on Pesach. Even if you like white wine more, but unless you really don't like red wine and you like white wine, then you could have white wine. It's not my case.
The nicest wine you have.
Machon. So that's why I said in Pesach here dafka. There's an inyan of red wine dafka. But you have to be careful, guys. That's what I'm saying. You just have to be careful. You have to know yourselves and you have to drink. But let's get into the drinking, okay? So the 4 cups of wine are really to make us happy. We're happy tonight. Wine is happy, makes us happy. So you're supposed to drink. That's why Chazal said you need 4 cups of wine. But when they put the 4 cups into the Seder, they put them on some of the mitzvot. That's what they did. In other words, when you think about what we're doing tonight, there's Kiddush, which is a mitzvah, so we're going to have the wine then. There's Magid, the story of Yetziat Mitzrayim, so we're going to have the wine then. There's Birkat HaMazon, that we're going to say, all mitzvot do right, all right? We're going to say it then, and Hallel, and we're going to say it then. So they took like the different points. Now there are other points here, there matzah and maror, that we could have put them in there, but these aren't where they put in the cups. The 4 cups are sort of correlating to different stages of the meal that have to do with the mitzvah we're doing at that time. And that's where they put them. The Gemara talks about someone who drank them one after another. What is that? Is that okay? If you poured them all into one big cup and drank them? In other words, how does it work exactly? But the question being that it seems like the fact that they're 4 separated is not inherent. It is inherent now. Now the way it's made, it is inherent.
Do you even have to
But
pour it? You just drink it from the bottle?
no, you're supposed to have in a cup, and we'll talk about that in a second, okay? Yeah.
If you're gonna do minhag Ashkenaz and do a bracha on each glass of wine, you need to make sure that your kavanah on the first kaddish is just on the first cup, correct?
Correct. Yes, but you're going to be saying it on all. We'll get to that in a second. You're going to be saying it. It's a machloket Ashkenazim Sfaradim about which you say the bracha on, but yeah, you should usually on this cup. You don't have to exclude the other one in your mind. You just say I'm saying it on this cup, so that you don't have to actively exclude.
It's in front of you, no?
What?
It's in front of you.
Can.
So then, what kavanah is really?
No, he's saying because you're going to be saying again and again and again the brachot each time, so maybe you should just be saying, I'm only doing this one and not others. I don't think you need to have...
And also, this is the news that between the first and second cup, you can't drink in between.
Well, we'll talk about that, okay? We'll get to that. There's like a different thing, okay? Tov. There's also a 5th cup.
That's my favorite.
That's Eliyahu's cup.
Good, that's Eliyahu's cup.
That's the cup where you're like, I thought it was done, and then you're like, nah, I can keep going.
Okay, so there's a 5th cup. Now the 5th cup, the minhag is not to drink it. It's called Eliyahu and Avi's cup.
Wait, the minhag or the halacha?
What?
Like, there's mamash, the sword to drink it?
No, it's not a suit to drink it. There's a minhag to drink it too. But many people don't drink it. They cover it and they use it for kiddush the next day. Okay, they either put it back in the bottle or they just cover it and put it on the side. You're not supposed to leave it open. That's another problem. But it's a 5th cup that you pour when you pour the 4th cup, which is really at the end of the Seder. You pour a 5th cup. What exactly is the inyan of this cup? So there's what is there? Machloket, thank you. That's the word we have to know. There's a machloket what exactly this 5th cup is. Is it when the 4 cups, the Gemara itself asks, what are the 4 cups? Why 4 cups? Why did they make 4 cups, Chazal? And they say, the basic answer, I'll say, is against the 4 languages of redemption that were brought in the psukim. The problem is there's a 5th. And the 5th, one second, is heveti. That I will, it's votzeti, votzalti, velakachti, v'ga'alti. 4 different ones. I've taken them out of Egypt. I've redeemed them. 4 different languages. But later it says, and I will bring them to the land. So at first glance, that's not part of the redemption process. The process of taking them out of Egypt, that we have 4 different words that describe that. The 5th, veheveti, is after they're out and to bring them into the land. So there are shitot, Rav Shlomo Goren was one of them, who says that dafka we should be drinking the 5th cup. Us here now in Eretz Yisrael, the 5th cup should be drank because we're here. We're veheveti. There's something there. So possibly in Chutz La'aretz not, but a part of maybe also they should. But it's an interesting idea, an interesting concept that dafka here in Egypt. Here in I'm so into it. I'm in Egypt. I'm sorry guys, I'm here already, but we haven't gotten out of Egypt yet. Right. So heveti is to drink. So there are shitot to drink the 5th one. Okay. Possibly everyone will drink a 5th cup, or maybe the person who's leading the Seder. Again, this is all in the air legamer. There's no serious halachot. Tov. People who can't drink wine, grape juice is not the best. It's not the best. Mixing grape juice and wine is a possibility, so you don't lose it. Water and wine is a way. Anything that you could do to make sure you.
Told, like 1/3 grape juice and 2/3 wine is allowed, and 2/3 water and 1/3 wine is allowed.
Everything is allowed. Okay, everything is allowed. You're supposed to drink wine. You're supposed to be happy. You're supposed to drink wine, and you're also supposed to not get drunk. So work that out.
How you can mix
Wait,
the
is it supposed to be
water
drunk
with
at the
wine
Seder?
if you can say bracha on something like that?
Because if there's too much water in it, that would become a problem. But it's usually not going to. You're not going to fill in so much water.
The wine most
Okay.
likely.
It's a sword to be drunk at the Seder?
What I'm saying is, if you're drunk, you're not really drunk. you're not going to be doing the mitzvah as you
So
should.
don't get effed up, but be a little bit drunk to fulfill the mitzvah.
That's probably what will happen. You'll be a little. You'll be happy. People who drink wine, again, I'm not one of them, so I'm like unique, but I think most people drink wine at different points during the week, on Shabbat, they drink wine. So I don't think it will be knock them out. But we'll talk about how much. Okay, so let's go on. Tov. Now, there are different elements talking about what exactly. Now, you're really supposed to drink the cup, the whole cup. Okay? Now, that could change. It doesn't matter the size of the cup, big, small. You're supposed to drink the whole cup. That's what you're supposed to drink. It's called drink the whole cup. If you can't drink the whole cup, one second. I'm going to give a retzif. It's okay, but I just want to give a quick retzif, and then you'll tell me, okay? You're supposed to drink the whole cup. If you can't drink the whole cup, drink what's called rov kos. Drink most of the cup. A majority of the cup. If you can't drink a majority of the cup, at least drink what we called a revit, which would be the lowest level of revit in this case, which we're talking about 75 milliliters, okay? Which we said is a little more than this. That is the minimum that someone should be drinking. The maximum what you really should be drinking is the whole cup. If you can't drink the whole cup, then you drink most of the cup. You can't drink most of the cup, at least drink a revit, okay? If you're really, really sick, and this is probably not relevant to everyone here, then you can drink the amount that fills like one side of your mouth. It's called milologma, where the cheek full. We don't want to get there, really, okay? But that would be on the base. If someone asked, am I yotze? If I did that, you would be yotze.
What about alcoholics too?
What?
Alcoholics.
Grape juice.
Grape juice. Oh, right.
Yeah.
What's the time frame? Is it when we say the bracha, or until the next cup? Or
Well, after Kiddush, we obviously drink it. We drink then. Then we're going to pour the next cup soon after in Magid, and it's going to be in front of us, the whole Magid. We only drink it after we say the bracha. Again, Ashkenazim say a bracha on each cup. I'll just say one more thing. You don't have to wash the cup in between. It's important when a Kiddush cup, like when I'm about to say Kiddush for Shabbos, we have to wash the cup. It has to be clean. You can't use a cup that's pagum, a cup that has residue in it. You can't do that. You have to have a cup that's clean. In between the 4 cups, it's fine. You don't have to wash again, okay? Because it's continuous. It's a continuous mitzvah. It's the 4 cups. You don't have to wash them again. Imagine what a balagan it would be if you had to wash them each time. Yes.
Just have a little picture.
Can sir.
So grape juice is b'diavad, and the wine is lechat.
Just 2 more things.
So you said Ashkenazim even do it after for each and every single cup, whereas Sfaradim only do once.
For the bracha. The bracha, no, they're going to do twice. They do twice.
So before and after the meal.
They do it right, exactly, for the kiddush and for Birkat Hamazon. That's what they don't say the bracha on the other 2. Okay, but 1 second. We're talking about kids should also be drinking from 5, 6 years old. Again, whatever they can, wine, grape juice, and you're supposed to drink. You have to drink it in time. In other words, drinking as an act of a mitzvah has to be done within a certain time frame. The time frame we're talking about is really you can go for a couple minutes. So really, 4 minutes would be the minimum, up to 6, 7 minutes. I mean, come on. So we could finish this much in 6 or 7 minutes. But someone who's really hard for him, sometimes, sips, it has to be done within a certain time frame. So let's go on to the next din that we're talking about, that as we're doing was hasava, the leaning. Okay, we talked about it a little bit, so I'll go through it quickly. The idea is to be calm. The idea is to be a ben chorim, right? It's to be, here, I'm leaning here. It's to be comfortable. We're comfortable. We're not about to leave. We're not sitting on the edge of our seat. We're not, when you sink into that's right, the position of sinking into that couch. I know people who leave the Seder table and actually sit on couches. We tried to do it one year. It wasn't so successful. But you sit down and like poofim, right? Is that an English word, poof?
pillows?
Big pillows, big pillows. Oh no, to sit down like comfortably. That's the idea. The idea is we have time. Slaves don't have time. It's one of the most important things a slave doesn't have. He's not in charge of his own time. And the Seder, we are comfortable. So it's important to get yourself a seat that's comfortable. That's why we have our pillows here. Okay, so make it more comfortable. It's just supposed to be comfortable. At least the person who does the Seder, he's the first, and as many people as can be comfortable. That's what we do. Tov. We said there are a couple times when you really have to save. I'll go over them quickly. When you eat the matzah, when you eat the korech, okay, remember that's when you have everything together. When you have the afikomen, all three of these are times you have the 4 kosot, that's when you have to lean. It's good to lean the whole way through, but that's when you have to, okay, for those 4.
Lean during the bracha or just during the eating or drinking?
Just doing not during. It doesn't have to be the bracha. It has to be just the drinking and the eating itself. Okay. Tov. Kiddush, Birkat Hamazon, Maror. We don't masev. That's hard to do because you just are leaning like this for matzah, for like, well, I'm eating matzah. And then when you eat maror, we don't. Why?
Because it's the remind us about better times.
Exactly, because it's reminding us of when we were slaves. So we're not going to be like this when we're trying to feel the feeling of being a slave. That's when we don't. That's when we'll sit up straight. So, okay. So if I forgot, we talked about lefty, not lefty. We talked about that. If I forgot to lean, okay. So what do we do in the matzah? If we didn't do on korech, then you don't have to do it again. Okay, why? Because there's maror involved in there too, right? We have the matzah together with the maror, so you don't have to. For the 4 kosot, there's a machloket. Sfaradim have to go back on every kos. They didn't drink, they go back and do. Ashkenazim, if you didn't do it, you don't have to, you should. It's good to go back and redo it again. But the only one you really have to do in the 4 kosot is the second one. Why is the second one? That's the story, right? That's the Sipur Yetziat Mitzrayim. That's when we come out. That's when we come. So according to Ashkenazim, that's the one you really have to. You could on all the others, and probably should, but you don't have to. On the second one you have to. Sfaradim you have to on all the cups. Okay, Hirsch, you got that?
No.
You got that, right? Sfaradim have to on all the cups. They have to. If they didn't lean, they have to do it. Okay. The matzah, obviously, you're gonna have to do it again. Okay. The matzah vaday you have to do again. That may be even the most important of all of them. Tov, let's continue, everyone. Okay. After you drink that first cup of wine, one can drink wine if you're thirsty. You can drink wine after, up till Magi. When we continue, again, not a good idea. Just because they're going to be drinking wine, Seder, you can drink other things. If you're thirsty, you can drink other things. Vadai, water, even juice, if you thought about it when you said the bracha on the Kiddush. And then you were motzi all the drinks that are going to come later. Okay, in your mind, you were going to say, I'm going to have some. If you drink, when you say the bracha on the Kiddush, you should say, and all the drinks I'll be drinking in between. If it's cola or whatever.
A drink that it's sheakol, I need to say the bracha?
No, you don't. That's what the yain, the birkat yain is motzi all drinks. Sort of like a lechem is motzi, right? You don't have to say another bracha once you do the tilat yadayim. So too is the wine. Okay, now about eating. Okay, people start getting hungry. By the way, at this point, as we're made ourselves hungry, people start getting hungry, especially children. Especially children are getting hungry now at this point. So here it becomes. Remember, we're talking about getting to the matzah when we're really hungry. So you're really not supposed to be eating in between. Really not supposed to be eating. People who have to eat, I don't know, whatever reason, very old or very sick or very hungry. I don't know, someone who knows he won't be able to even function in the Seder. One second. If he won't be able to function in the Seder without it. So a little bit. That's the idea. To eat little bits. Try not to put yourself in a position that you're going to have to say a bracha achrona. You're going to have to say a blessing afterwards. And you're supposed to have less than a kazait. Okay? That's what it is. Therefore, when we're about to get to the karpas, also, the best halachic terms is to eat less than a kazait. Less than a kazait is around a piece like this. Okay? To eat something like this.
That's a kazai.
What?
You're using celery for it?
That's a kazai.
So That's a kazait?
That's the biggest of all.
Well, remember, no, kazait, you have to like squish it together to make sure what exactly, it's like condensed kazait. So I don't know if this is exactly a kazait, but it's around the kazait. Yeah.
Do you use celery for carpet?
Wait, one second.
Wait, then what about giving your kids candy?
So the kids are their own story in this sense. Yeah. Ktanim, we're going. Exactly. We're going to, again, not supposed to give them a meal. They're supposed to get to that, to get their, but if I have to go through, if my kid's going to fall asleep or have him eat, definitely have him eat. Okay, it's important. In other words, the idea of getting to the matzah hungry, that's for us more. For the children, we want them awake and involved. More important than if they have to eat, give them a whole meal beforehand. Okay?
We get potato chips.
Good. So we have for karpas or bichlal?
For karpas.
For karpas, yeah. But we have we make chips, French fries. We make for karpas. But karpas. So what's karpas? Karpas, it was a green vegetable. That's what it was in the time of the Mishnah and the Gemara. In Europe, in April, there's snow on the ground. There's nothing like this out, right?
I don't know.
There's snow on the ground. It's cold. It's cold. There's no. So Jews have throughout the world developed all kinds of different things they did. Celery, parsley in places in the world that can eat. They had potatoes. They had potatoes in Europe. That's what they had. It's not what was meant. But what is the idea, Bichlal? What's the idea behind the karpas? Why do we have karpas? Why are we eating this?
Why?
To make the kids ask.
Just for
That's really long.
Just for that.
Weinstein.
That's exactly why. That's exactly what you're supposed to say.
The whole entire time, I always thought that the reason why we eat karpas is to remind us about the better time about the Jews when they were in Egypt and about all the guys. There's actually more than one reason, actually.
There's the real reason.
But I also heard another reason, which is quite over the top, I would think. And and also I learned that like the word karpas, there's like so many things. There's like the word karpas can be used for like all the foods you're allowed to have. For instance, celery comes from like the samech, potato comes from the pei.
That's like real darshanut.
Really?
You're using English from a Hebrew word. So it's fun. These are fun things to do. The reason we have karpas is for people to ask.
Can we drink?
So the kids say, yeah, go ahead, drink the drapes and lean.
Can you
Practice.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, sure. You can say, no, but yes, of course. But you guys can say your own bracha, right? If anyone wants to be yotzei, I can yotzei them. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Lean. You guys aren't doing it right. Lean. Are you ready? Yeah, that's exactly what happens. Lean.
You need to have a
I'm leaning.
Okay.
Drink with the left hand also, or can you lean with the
But I don't know.
No, of course. That's why you lean left way, so you could use your right hand.
With the hand,
We need to
Yeah.
to
Right.
like one shot or few minutes.
So we said within 4 to 7 minutes, okay? Most of us can handle that, I
Not
think.
one shot.
But it doesn't have to be one shot. No, you could do it,
If I do,
and it's great.
it's great.
No problem.
So I do.
So, Yafeh. The Seder. I'm saying again, the reason you're really not supposed to get to eating too much because it just gets into a problem of brachot. Okay, to say do I have to say a bracha achrona or not? If you do eat more than a kazait, you don't have to say a bracha achrona, okay? Because you're going to be saying brachas later. You're going to say the birkat hamazon later. Probably because of the safek, you shouldn't say a bracha achrona, okay? If you're really hungry. Sometimes it happens. There's like good food out. And we're going to do birkat hamazon. The question here is this the beginning of the meal? Not. This is the problem. We said kiddush, but we didn't wash yet. It's like an in-between phase. Usually what we do in a regular Shabbos meal, we say kiddush, and right away we eat, right? Here, between the kiddush and the food is magid. An hour and a half, 2 hours. There's a lot of time between them. Okay? Even if it's done shortly and concisely, it's going to take at least an hour plus. So that's a long time in between. It's not really considered part of the meal, the karpas. What we do with the karpas, of course, before we eat it, we go and we wash our hands. We wash our hands without a bracha. Now, all this is also interesting, and also the kids are going to ask, why aren't we saying a bracha, right? And everyone, that it never fails. My kids will go do Netilat Yadayim and then start saying a bracha. They will do it. And we'll go, no. That's part of the fun, because everyone, you'll see yourselves, it's automatic. You go like this.
What about your older kids? They already know.
Yeah, I hope so. We'll find out. But you do Netilat Yadayim, and it's like automatic. Everyone, you just start doing it, and you start saying the bracha. So no. So the Indian, fast. What's the Indian of doing it? So the Indian is that there is a halacha. The idea. Me'uleh. Ezra can give this year.
An apple. You're technically supposed to wash.
So let me explain the idea. In Tuma and Tahara, it's actually it was last week's parsha. For something to receive tum'ah, impurity, it has to first be wet. Food has to first be wet before it receives impurity. So as we're going to put this in salt water before we eat it, it's going to be something that becomes susceptible to impurity. Therefore, we go wash our hands. Only this way. Now, that's, in a sense, you could do it every day if you really want to, but we don't.
We don't do it every day
exactly.
Because we're like Tamei Meis.
Exactly. We're completely impure. We don't do anything that has to do really with purity and impurities, except maybe Netilat Yadayim for the bread.
Does that happen because we stopped using the ashes of the Parah Aduma?
Well, it happens when we don't have a mikdash anymore. Mikdash is where we have the impurity. Yeah.
We dry the fruit if it's wet, isn't it? Before we eat
it. It's true, but it's still, it doesn't matter. Once it gets wet, once you want it to get wet and it got wet, it could receive tumah. Okay, so again, if any one of you guys want to do this throughout the year, you can, but I don't really suggest you do it. But part of this is also, of course, to get the kids involved and have them ask what's going on here. Tov. Let's go on. We said when we say Borei Pri Adama, we also think of the maror. Good. We're moving here, guys. Yofi. Okay. Yachatz. Here we go. Let's do yachatz, okay? I take the middle matzah. I'm good. Which is the bigger one?
The left. From our side. You're to the right. Whatever. Right on your side.
Whatever.
Which is the bigger one?
This one.
I'm pretty sure this one did because that one's
good. So this, first of all, this is another good discussion that can happen at the Seder. But
the Jews love to argue.
Whatever it is, I'm going to put it on the side and cover it up. Now,
the bigger one.
The bigger one I put on the side. Now there is whatever. The bigger one. Whatever it is, there is a famous minhag. I don't even know what to call it. That someone hides it. I hide it. The kids hide it. Then there's like a game. Again, all this is part of getting the kids involved. Okay? Now, they take it, they hide it, then they give it back, and the father goes to look for it. If you can't find it, you promise him this, you promise him this. My kids have a whole list of all the promises that they were supposed to get for all the years of Afikomen that Abba didn't always remember to do afterwards, okay? But we did get a ping pong table once for the whole family for Afikomen. That was, I think that's enough for like the whole life. But anyway, the kids remember them. Abba, what did we do for the Afikomen? They remember like in Shavuot. They go, Abba, did we buy an Afikomen or we not got it? Like, I don't know. Do you remember? I don't know. Anyway, but whatever it is, maybe it teaches people how to cheat. That's what it teaches. This is not a good idea.
What?
But no, okay. Whatever it is, it's a fun thing to do. Different families have different minhagim. It's not really part of the Seder, but again, it's part of the fun. So, so now I have.
It has to be covered.
Where we put it? Well, yes, you have it covered. Just to see that it's separate from what else is happening here. Okay? Yeah.
What happens if you lost the Afikomen?
Then you just take another piece of matzah. Okay. If it was the real Korban Pesach and you lost it, you'd be in big trouble. But it's not, since it's just zecher. No, it may be a piece of it. But anyway, so now I have these three, and these symbolize the these are for hamotzi, right? In every meal, and this is the matzah for the mitzvah of the matzah. Okay, this is sort of what's here. They're nahug to call them. There's a minhag to call them Kohen Yisrael, Levi Yisrael, the three matzot.
Do you have to cover the matzah when you do kiddush?
Yes.
you have to, but then you take it off.
Then you take it off. So at different phases, we're going to uncover and see. It will say. It says it in every Haggadah. It will say here we uncover it, here we open it up. I'm not going to go into all the mamash specifics of that. Again, most Haggadot, there are Haggadot in every language, in everything. They have specific horot. Now I'm trying to go more into the halachot of the things here, so you understand why we're doing some of the things that are happening. The Haggadah says what to do. I'm trying to go a little deeper into why and what exactly you have to be careful with. Okay, Bramet. Yeah.
Just for when we start, it should to be covered, and then when you do bracha, it's covered. Then
Which bracha?
The when you urchatz.
No, then it stays covered
It's
for
always
them.
covered.
It's always well until we get to
But there is
Magid.
to Magid, then it's
Then we'll uncover it. Right? Yeah, then we'll uncover it. Okay.
Wash the head. Interesting.
Okay. Tov. So we begin the Seder saying this is the bread of affliction, halach ma'anya, that this is what we ate in Mitzrayim. Anyone who's hungry should come. It's like you're inviting all the downtrodden and all the people who need to come and eat at the Seder. Every family says this at the beginning of the Seder. It's understanding. First of all, we were there, and it's reminding us that we were slaves once, and we know the feeling of being alone and being isolated and being unloved. At our Seder, we're inviting everyone who wants to come, and also we want to remind ourselves of the affliction that we were in. This is where we started, and for everyone to see the matzah. Again, everything is always visual, feeling, being, and it's not just talking. It's there as sort of a prop, but it's a real prop. Okay. So we pour the next cup. You're also going to pour the next cup. You pour for someone else usually again. No. We just have the challah. We got a long time till Hamotzi. We have to go through all of Magid. Okay. It won't be a long time today, but it's a long time when you do it. Okay. By the way, just a technical thing: you should be careful not to pour for little kids because this cup's going to be here for like the next hour and a half. Little kids is usually going to be on the table, their pants, their friend's pants, their father's pants, whoever's sitting next to them's pants by that point. Very, very often, Pesach Kiddush cups are wobbly, plastic kind of things. Wonderful. Okay, so different people have different things, but when you're talking about lots and lots of people, sometimes they're like these little wobbly cups. Someone's going to spill it. There's the famous story of the rabbi who, whenever he would have a meal at his house, the first thing he would do with the meal is he would knock over a cup, and everything would spill all over everything. And go, oh, I'm so sorry, and then that would make it exactly. No one else would feel bad if it happens. What? They would invite him either. Right, him either. Right, just said that. So let's move on through Magid. Okay, we start with Magid. Magid has a basic mivneh, which is called you begin. Well, it starts off saying the hardships we were in and ends up with praising Hashem for where we've gotten. How have we gotten? Inside Magid has been a continuous creation of what exactly we're supposed to say. The heart of Magid is a midrashic interpretation of the story of Yetziat Mitzrayim as is told in Mikra Bikurim. It's very interesting. Very interesting. When someone brings his first fruits to the temple, which you're supposed to do every year, your first fruit you bring to the temple. When you get there, there is a text that you're supposed to say, and in that text, it begins with, "I was in Egypt, and I had a hard time, and Hashem took me out and brought me here." There's a text you say. That is the basis of the heart of the midrashic text that talks about Sipur Yetziat Mitzrayim. They use that text. It's very interesting. Why dafka that? Because we have the story we have the story in Shmot in Exodus, right? It has the whole story there. But this is very short. It's a couple psukim, and on each couple words, we read the midrashic interpretation of what we learn from this. We learn that they were like this, and this was like that. And you'll see in the Haggadah as it goes on. That's like the heart of it. So you'll see, if you guys want to open up, I'll show it to you inside. We'll go back in a second from where it was. It's on page 30, 28. 28, okay? 28 in this little one. Se'ulamad, go a couple more pages. There you go, you're right there. Okay, Se'ulamad, you see where it says it?
Oh.
So it starts Arami Oved Ovi, right? You have Arami Oved. A couple lines down there, you're there. Right in the middle of where you are there, it should be the word Arami Oved Avi. Okay? Page 28. Okay? So here, it's sort of in the middle. For those who are looking, yeah, you see it? So you can see the four sons who asked, the Chacham, Rasha, the Tam, the four sons. So it's like probably around 2 pages after the four sons. Okay? It starts with Tse'ulumad. In the English, it says here, the rabbis elaborate 4 biblical verses reminiscent of Egypt. Okay? And here they really, on almost every word, they stop and they give a deeper understanding. This is the basis for the story, really the heart of the story as it's told. Sort of,
takes the longest.
not necessarily, but it takes some time. On every word, we're going to stop and explain what exactly they did to us. What it means that they pressured us. What does it mean that they had hardship? What does it mean that God heard our cries? What does each thing mean?
It's mutar to use grape juice for the Birkat Hamazon.
You could use grape juice for everything. You're not supposed to. You're supposed to use wine. Okay. So that's the heart of the story. Around this story, we have other parts. We have what Magid begins with, which is again a basic statement. That we were slaves in Egypt, and therefore we're going to tell the story. Then there's a really sort of a tangent where it tells us a little bit of a story of Chachamim who actually did the Seder. Okay, it's a story of some of the rabbis who did. I don't want to go into this because it will take forever to go through all of Magid. Okay, but then they have the 4 sons. We have the Manishtana first. The question's the Manishtana, right? Do we know what the Manishtana is here? What? When we ask what is different, how is this night different than all other nights? Okay? It's in the beginning. Let's start more in the beginning. 18 we have Manishtana. Going back and forth here a little bit. The Manishtana again is the question, why is this night different? Just the idea, the concept here, it's important to understand that we're saying this night is different. This is not a regular night. We want our children to be asking. That's why the children usually ask the Manishtana.
I did not say that.
It's important that the kids are involved. They're the ones who say it, and they're the ones who are asking. And then we go on and we say there are 4 sons. Okay, this is again a little after this. There are 4 sons. The Torah, 4 times in the Torah, does it say your sons will ask you? And there's a drasha here. There's a midrash really, which is saying that the 4 children, the four different questions in the Torah relate to 4 different types of children. It starts from the Chacham, who is the wise son, the Rasha, who is, what do we call the Rasha? The wicked son. Then we have the Tam, which is an interesting, simple, maybe the simpleton, or the naive. Tam is a very interesting word to play around with. And then there's a 4th son, She'eino Yodea Lish'ol, who doesn't even know to ask. The idea of having all 4 sons of the Seder is a really important idea that's happening on Pesach. Pesach is the Chag where everyone gets together.
We need 4 persons like that.
No, you don't. No, but there. If you go into Chassidut, you have everywhere. Within each one of us, we have a little bit of each. we all have a little bit of each of us. Of inside ourselves, we have a little bit of wicked and smart and naive, and even one who doesn't even know what to ask. But the idea of the Seder and putting these sons out, saying that they're all here at the Seder, is saying, this is pulling in all ranks. All of Am Yisrael is here. This is the night where we are all one. We're all part of what's happening here.
Weinstein,
Yeah.
Is there a tradition that there was another fifth son that they couldn't reach out to or something?
You've heard that one?
I've heard that one.
That's
I'm
an interesting
wondering
one.
if
That's a very modern one. Rabbi Riskin
Yeah.
says it. Rabbi Riskin writes it in his
I heard
Agada.
that there was also another fifth son that they couldn't
Interesting.
reach out to. And
So again, that's
so the Echani Loidea is like the farthest they were able to reach out.
it's a modern concept. So it's interesting, right? There's one who was not even there. The fifth son was not there, but Seder. So we go through the Seder, okay? Different parts. It's very eclectic. Again, I said the heart is that midrash on the couple verses that we say when we bring the Bikurim, which tells the story sort of on the basic level. There are some interesting midrashim going on here. Then we mentioned the 10 plagues. There's a minhag to sort of like spill out a little bit of wine from the cup on each one of the 10 plagues. Some people put their finger in and then they take it out. Again, all these are not halacha. These are just minhagim that are done. It's pretty accepted minhagim that are done. Yeah, you go like this and just put it on your plate.
On a plate.
Yeah,
Okay.
or on the probably not a good idea on the tablecloth, but whatever. It's just to take out of the cup.
Yeah.
Why we do it doesn't matter at the moment. Then, pretty much after that, we say Dayenu, right? Dayenu. That's how most people sing it. There's no special minhag. That what we're saying in that sense is we're actually this is already the phase after Dayenu. We're actually starting to praise Hashem. But after we told the story, now we get to the praise part, and we're praising Hashem for all the great things He's done for us. Okay, and that we sort of lead till pretty much the end of what we call Magid. There we're going to mention what I said to you guys, that everyone who doesn't say these three things, the Rabban Gamliel says, if you don't say these three things, you're not Yosei Yedei Chovah, Pesach, Matzah, Maror. What they each resemble and what they each signify. And then pretty much we go into, we cover up the matzah, hold up our wine, say Hallel, the first two parts of Hallel, first two chapters of Hallel, and then we say the bracha, and we drink the wine. That's Magid. Okay? Again, it was very, very shortened here, because in a lot of times, in a lot of Sederim you'll be in, people will talk and explain. Some people share.
Kids have to work for it if they made at school.
Good,
They want to share
good.
it.
And some people will share their stories.
I forgot all of them.
Some people, guys, we're really, really tight now. We have like very little time. We'll go over time, but some people will share their stories, that some of them have been redeemed from different places. I've come from far away. There are stories of Yetziat Mitzrayim in our day, right? I mean, my grandmother is a Holocaust survivor. Whatever, you understand. So, now Hallel is very interestingly divided into two. Okay, we say the first two chapters here in Magid, at the very end of Magid, right before the bracha, and the last two we'll say at the end of the meal. It sort of divides into the two parts of the mitzvah of Yetziat Mitzrayim, where we're saying, and also eating the Korban Pesach, which is done at the end. So on the two big mitzvot of the day, we want to have Hallel at that time when we're doing it. So that's why it's divided into two. Okay, it's not a regular thing that's divided into two. So it starts. You see the bracha. You have the bracha. One more page. Go ahead. No, go further up. One more page. There it is. Hallelujah. You see the second verse there. Yeah, that's it. So it's really right at the end. That's the first verse of Hallel. Tov. Yalla. So we said Ashkenazim breasts on all the cups, Sephardim breasts. No, we're going to say a bracha shakol after. Besides the bracha of praising Hashem, which is the bracha on Magid, we're also going to say another bracha on the cup. We won't do that now. If anyone wants to drink, you don't have to say another bracha. But Ashkenazim will say a bracha on every cup. Sephardim will not say a bracha on this cup. They're only going to say a bracha on the Kiddush that they did on Kiddush and the bracha on Birkat HaMazon. Tov. Matzah, yalla, let's get to matzah. This is actually probably the most important part of the eating. Okay, so matzah, really, this is where matzah is going to really get to us. We eat a lot of matzah. Okay, on Pesach Bichlal, we're sort of more stringent about everything. Okay, it's a stringent chag. We tend to be stringent on Pesach. So, you have to eat a kazait.
No, we have to eat the.
Okay. Now you have to eat a kazait. How much is a kazait? Especially this kind of matzah where you could like scrunch it up and pull it in like this and it will become much smaller than you think. How much? So obviously we have a, thank you, we have a machloket. How much of a machine-made matzah is a kazait? So that's the lenient way of seeing it. The other one is 2/3. 2/3. So we're talking about this much. Okay, it's not that bad. Okay, 2/3 is doable. The only problem is we're going to eat a kazait for the mitzvah of the regular challah, like we have challah. We're going to have a kazait for the mitzvah of matzah. We're going to have a kazait with the korech. Okay?
It'll be nice and full by the end of the night.
Right. Then actually you are going to have 3 kazaitim and then another one for the afikomen at the end. So we're going to have 4. We're going to have 4 kazites. That's what we're going to have. Okay. Now again, you're supposed to have a kazait in each one for each mitzvah. Yeah, that's what you have. For sure, the matzah. That's vadai what you have for the mitzvah, the matzah. The other ones, just like on Shabbos, you're supposed to eat a kazait. You're definitely supposed to eat a kazait for the meal. And for korech,
2 birds with 1 stone.
So that's why we're very stringent on Pesach, and we have another kazait. Now you're supposed to eat the kazait within the time frame also. It's called toch kedei achilat pras. Again, 4 to 9 minutes, 2 to 9 minutes, whatever it is. So that's why often what you will see at a Seder is there will be dead quiet and a lot of crunching. Get it in, finish. Okay, what do we have to do when we're doing that? There we go, we're leaning. You guys forgot. We're leaning as we're eating. When we eat all 3 of these kazaitim, we're leaning.
No,
Yeah.
all the time or just the first bite?
The whole thing.
Okay.
Whole thing. We're eating as we lean to the side, as we have our matzah. Now, just an important concept to know, there is this matzah called matzah shmura. I don't know if everyone's ever heard of this. Guarded matzah.
We're out from the time of harvest.
Phew, you guys are good. Yafeh. So matzah, just to know, for the Leila Seder, even people who don't eat shmura matzah.
That is matzah shmura on your hand.
I'm sure.
I hope so.
You can tell?
When did it become guarded?
Even the most simple basic machine one
is usually shmura, at least to a certain level. But usually on Leila Seder, we're going to look for the mishat katsir, right? From the time it's harvested. That's where we're going to try to do. And some people, now there's a machloket about machine matzah as opposed to handmade matzah. There's a machloket. Some people say dafka, the machine matzah, is much better because the machines are better than man. I mean, they could do things more.
Traditional.
Exactly, traditional, or people who think there are problems with the machine because the shmura has 2 parts. One is that it hasn't gotten wet, that the wheat at no time from the harvest on has ever gotten wet. It's shmura. It is guarded from that. The other is guarded that it has special intention for it to be the chag. So then some people say that a machine can't have intention. So they prefer not to use a machine made. Other people say the man who turns the machine on obviously has intention. So it's okay. Whatever it is, either way is pretty okay. Almost all the matzah we have, it really is shmura in some sense, at least from shat china, at least from the time when it's chopped up, when it's ground, when the wheat's ground. So it's probably you can't go wrong. I will say if it's around 5 times as much, costs around 5 times as much shmura matzah than not shmura matzah. Notice it's very expensive, even machine made. It's very expensive. If that is a shikul, then for Leila Seder, get 1 box, enough for each person to have for themselves, and for the rest of Pesach, it is fine to have the other matzah. Okay?
Just to read it, we are supposed to lean every time we're eating
Yes,
matzah.
yes, you are. Okay. So, is anyone here celiac?
No, thank God.
Anyone here? They can't eat gluten.
Not me.
Good. Know that, because if you are, it becomes a difficulty. Okay, people who are seriously.
I have a friend who's going.
So they it's an issue. So I'm not going to go into it because no one is. So we're going to go on. No, you can't eat. No, not really. No. So no, you can't use egg matzah. Is regular matzah. Okay. The way you do it, you're going to do like this. The way the bracha is going to go is we're going to do like this. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu mitzvot. No, sorry. I'm going to start with all 3 together. I got all mixed up. And then we're going to put it down. And then leave these 2. And that we're going to say matzah. Okay? And then we're going to eat from this one. Now, obviously, if I have 100 people at the table...
From the small one?
Yeah, this is the matzah one. So, because this is the lechem oni. This is the slave-like meal that they have to... I just said, when we break it in half, part of the idea is that slaves always keep a little bit for later. People who don't know where their next meal is going to come from, they always keep, they have a half. They only have a half. So whatever you have, you break off a little now and keep a little for later. Okay? So that's why this is the matzah that reminds us. So what we do often is we break off little pieces of this one, so everyone has from the original matzah, and then has the continuation of the kazait from other matzah that we have at the table. Okay? Tov.
So everyone needs to have a little. Sorry, I missed. Everyone needs to have a little.
Not really. Not really. No, you just have to eat a kazait matzah shmura. It doesn't have to be from here.
It's actually the only exception when you are doing a bracha and you take the not complete one. In general, you have to.
For sure, you have to take a complete one. You're not supposed to have a challah that's not complete. That's correct. Right. Okay. So let's go on. We talked about the seder achila. We did putting on salt. Sephardim do put on salt. 1 second.
It's actually mezonot.
So here's something I'm going to say. I don't know what different minhagim, mezonot for Sephardim. So there are sort of interesting things. Okay, first of all, as an Ashkenazi, our minhag is a little wacko, but we don't eat matzah. We don't eat matzah before Pesach. Our minhag is we don't eat matzah from Purim we don't eat matzah. No, that's my minhag. It has nothing to do with anyone. The only thing you're really not allowed to do is the day before. That's you're really not allowed to eat matzah the day before.
Like dry roasted cereal.
Good. That's pretty much what it is. Ashkenazim have to wash for this.
Can I eat matzah?
What do you heat it for? What are you gonna
If you would like to eat matzah, you can. You have to wash. Sephardim, it's mizonot, not on Pesach, which is very fascinating. Sephardim on Pesach, it's hamotzi, and other times it's mizonot. It's a very interesting din. Seder?
No, it's just.
Not everyone is Ashkenazi.
Okay, guys, wow. So we're doing good. We're doing good, guys. We're doing good. We don't have that much left here. Okay, we take the maror after we ate, and we everyone ate, and they sit up. Take the maror. You take the maror, dip it in charoset, and now what do you use for maror? The real maror, really, as fabulous as it sounds, is really lettuce. That's really what they meant. The thing is, for Chazal, lettuce was bitter. They had a bitter kind of lettuce. There's still in the fields, there's lettuce that you could find that's good luck trying to eat that. It was some kind of cultivated, it was bitter. For us, everyone loves lettuce. I mean, kids just eat it up like they love lettuce. Lettuce is great. But lettuce is the original, it's really what they meant. So it's actually probably preferable to actually use this lettuce, even though it's not so bitter.
And a horseradish?
Right. So the horseradish is the Ashkenazim who didn't have lettuce. Remember we talked about not having lettuce. So they found some really bitter herb, and that's really bitter herb. It's not what Chazal meant in maror, but the Seder, but you can use it. I mean, the idea again is to get in the bitter place. And since it's not Me'atorah, right? We said now because it's Rabbanan, so Beseder. But really, you should use Chasa. Really, that should be the one you use. Some people mix them together, put the horseradish in the thing and make it, because some of you you're like, it's not fair. This is yummy. I'm not supposed to think it's yummy. I'm supposed to think it's bitter. So people like make their life hard and they put it.
Make it really good. You take the lettuce, you put charoset on the lettuce, then you put the other.
Well, you're supposed to shake that. You're not supposed to eat the charoset. You're supposed to dip it in charoset and knock the charoset off. The charoset is supposed to, so that you don't get really hurt from the bitterness of the maror. Again, with this, that's not exactly what's going to happen. So we sort of like keep the custom, even though it's not exactly the right chasa, not exactly the right lettuce, and no real reason to put it in the charoset anymore. But that's what we still do. Okay. Beseder, inyan of chasa, there just sometimes there are Indians of bugs in lettuce, so it should be either checked or brought. Or you should buy gush katif, which is there's a lettuce that is bug free. It's in every supermarket. You could get them. It says it on it. You would put it in water and soap for like a couple minutes. Wash it off very, very well, and take a look at it. Hold it up to the light. And hope you don't see anything crawling around. This one looks good. Seder?
And then we do the sandwich.
Now. Okay? That's it. Now again, we eat kazait maror, which is a nice amount, okay? It's probably a big, big leaf of lettuce.
That makes it.
What?
What's that? It doesn't make sense.
You
mean like Kenya doesn't make sense?
Wait, everything.
How is there an opinion that 2/3 of one of the matzahs compressed would be a kazait, but then that
not this. It has to be like a big leaf of this.
No, I know, but that would be like less of a godel of 2/3 of a matzah.
Would it? I don't know. So you eat two. No, I'm saying whatever. Usually, like a whole leaf condensed, maybe. This matzah is nothing. If you crush it, because it's air. There's a lot of air. It's you break this up. It's like
the lettuce is 98% water.
But it's maybe heavier.
It might be heavier than the lettuce.
I say it would be fascinating if you guys give it a shot. Go buy lettuce and squish it and see what happens. No, I'm serious. I'm not joking. You should do it. You're good. The Seder.
Weight,
Right. But it's very hard to estimate that at the Seder. I'm sure some really, really people who are very stringent have like, wait, and you're not allowed to on Shabbos. So, the Seder. Korech.
Wait. Even if it's a mechanical scale,
it's a problem. It's a problem to weigh things.
Which malacha?
It's not a malacha. It's doing mischar on Shabbat. It's doing for business purposes.
Right, that was in the first.
So, but let's go on, okay? Kazait. So again, for korech we take a kazait maror. Kazait matzah. This is our third kazait of matzah. I'll remind you. This is our third kazait. We had for the motzi, we had for the matzah, and now we have for the korech. Our second kazait of maror. Make our sandwich, and we say zecher le migdash vehilel. There are different things you say at this point, and then you eat the sandwich. Do you lean or you don't lean? You do, but if you didn't, you don't have to eat again. Okay? Yafeh. It is really pretty much what we usually do is we're quiet from the beginning of matzah till the end of korech. We sort of like mitzvah, tak, 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 tak. At that period of time, we're very focused on eating. That's what we're doing. We're doing the mitzvahs of the day of eating, and we're sort of no talk there. Everyone's probably talked out anyway beforehand. You've been talking for an hour and a half about Magid. You're fine. Okay. Yafeh. V'seder. The people who cannot eat a kazait matzah, even though I don't think that is not our problem, a fifth is the lowest level of possibly being a kazait by the most lenient shitot. Okay. Yeah, a machine matzah. It's around this. Again, we're not part of that. Seder, yafeh. Okay, now we said we're almost finished. I'm sorry about that, everyone. If we have 5 minutes, we'll be done. You're not allowed to eat afikoman after chatzot. If you do get there at the end of chatzot, you'll eat it without a bracha. Even really, you're supposed to get to Hallel by Chatzot, by the middle. Chatzot now is like around 12:45 probably. Chatzot, midnight is not midnight because it's halachic time. So it's probably it's after 12. It's around 12:40. I mean, you have to check exactly. But you're really supposed to say Hallel by then. You're supposed to finish the whole thing by Chatzot. Very often that's not what happens in many people. And there's
very often where I came from, not a lot of people even made Afikomen by midnight either.
Right, but that's
actually,
you want to get to that Afikomen?
What it means by the Afikomen. Some say you need to taste.
No, you'll be Yotze. Because since Afikomen is all Zecher, it's all remembrance of. In other words, it's not the real Korban Pesach, which that you definitely have to finish by Chatzot. So therefore, if you didn't make it, again, machloket, what to do? Do you eat? Do you not eat? But you're really supposed to make it by Chatzot, at least the Afikomen. Okay, Hallel maybe afterwards, but the Afikomen you should get there by Chatzot. Just in our family, I just did it on the side. Often, me and my wife were more makpid, more stringent. My brother was less. We'd get to these points where we'd get up to this point, and I'd say, "We're eating. We're not eating. We're eating. We're eating." So we would eat it, and they wouldn't eat it.
Chatzot means midnight?
Yes.
Yeah. How do you spell it?
Chatzot means the middle of the night. Yeah.
How do you spell it?
Chet Tzadik Vav Taf. Beseder.
What do you do if you are on the Seder with someone who is not that
stringent
and you are?
You're smart. That's what you have to do.
You're Jews. You argue about it.
No. You have to be smart. You have to be smart. If it's going to really hurt this person's feelings, very much so, then you could be somech on the shitot that it's okay. Then you could be accepting. But if you realize you're going to be seriously, there's a place for it. This exists in halacha, the opinion that it can be done. If you can do it without being.
If you don't have enough matzah for everyone to eat a kazait.
Well,
then don't go eat the Seder.
Well, that's a real problem. That's not what he was saying. But that's a real problem.
It happened.
You can. So that should not happen. If you ever, if everyone here has a chashash, that could happen, that there won't be enough, then you should bring your own matzah. Okay, that's important. That's an important thing. Okay. The Seder, we really reached the end. We get to Tzafun, we get to the Afikomen. The Afikomen, after the Afikomen, you're really not supposed to drink anything else. You're not supposed to eat anything or really drink anything afterwards except water. So So there are opinions that you could drink tea. There are some that even say you could drink some wine or drink. But the idea is just a machloket. You're supposed to, guys. Let's finish up. You're supposed to finish with the taste of the Pesach in your mouth.
But we have a third cup after Afikoman, isn't it?
The third cup is for the Hallel.
Well, you just have to finish by
but it's
midnight.
after Afikoman.
Hallel, Safun. No, Hallel is before. No?
It's after.
I'm not sure.
Right, correctly. Nachon. We have Tzafun Barech, then Hallel. So we're going to have, besides the cups, you're right, besides the cups of wine that we're going to be drinking, both in Birkat Hamazon and for Hallel, right, where you're not supposed to be definitely eating anything afterwards. No eating after that.
You can eat afterwards. You finish your kazayit by chatzot. After chatzot.
No, it doesn't matter. After Afikoman, you're not supposed to eat anything after. That's the thing you say to the Beit.
It's a loophole that you're allowed to use because there are two differing opinions between Rav Akiva and Rav Eliezer ben Azariah. And you rely on it.
No, you're not supposed to eat after. I hear what you're saying, and I understand the machloket. What if you eat, if you finish the Afikoman, the idea is having...
You do the Afikoman right before chatzot. After chatzot, you're allowed to eat again because chatzot has come.
Okay. I said that I hear it's not a mainstream halacha on that one.
I can bring you.
Meule. I'd like to see it. It's not mainstream halacha. I'll tell you, it's not. It could be a dea that exists. Zeu.
So when do you eat dessert?
Before the Afikomen. That's it.
Oh, the dessert.
That's it. Okay. We do Birkat Hamazon, have our cup of wine. No. After the Afikomen, that's it.
No, but when is the dessert?
Well, you don't have to eat dessert.
Can you drink water?
But if you do it with the
Tzafun is the Afikomen. That's what Tzafun is. You're eating the Afikomen. And then, before Birkat Hamazon, but that's the end. The last thing you're supposed to eat is this one.
Can you drink water?
No,
Yes.
so if,
Yes.
if you have some,
Yes.
no.
What?
If you have
Why are
something
you
like,
so-
Thank you.
because it's dessert, we eat before the food.
Yes, before that fikor.
Like a tea or whatever.
So again, tea you may be able to drink afterwards, but food definitely not. Except if you go by shua, and then maybe he'll give you a heter. Zeo, guys, that is the basics of the Seder. Okay, basics of the Seder. Now, I just want to say we did not touch everything at all. The Seder is much more murkav. There's no way in an hour and a half, an hour and 45 minutes, we can cover everything. We didn't cover before. We didn't cover the songs that come afterwards. There are different things. There's a minhag to read Shiur Shirim afterwards if anyone wants to.
Okay, no one does. There's also songs that some people read, but we
We
don't
do
do that.
Shiurim every week.
And you could do it again. The Seder, so there are other minhagim around here. Pesach has many minhagim. This was the basis of the halachot of the Seder, which I hope will serve us well.